Good afternoon, viewers. You are watching us live on Kairaba News Network. This is your weekly news recap with me, Alkali Cham. Today, my guest is no other person than Hagi Sawaneh. I guess Hagi is not a strange face to you, the viewers. So, Hagi, you are welcome to this program.
Alkali, thank you very much, and then I really appreciate being here, facing the viewers across the globe. I'm saying good afternoon, good evening to each and everyone who is taking this time to watch Kairaba News Network. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. With our news headlines today, my father is an inconsistent political analyst, politician. This has been said by one of the political analysts in this country. Transport union to propose fares after Tobaski. We'll also look at that briefly. Senegalese ambassador welcomes Gambia's ban on timber trade. We'll also look at that briefly. Esafal laments Gambia's declining agri sector. So we go into the news in details. Political science lecturer and analyst Isenjai has called the Gambia Moral Congress leader an inconsistent politician. My father said in an interview with Kerfado that he would have preferred to join President Barrow to the opposition during the 2021 presidential election. Mr. Sawaneh, this is an interesting comment made by this political science lecturer, Mr. Njai, who says that my father, who is the standard bearer to the Gambia Moral Congress, described him to be an inconsistent political figure, you know, simply because saying that he preferred to join Adam Barrow than the other oppositions during the 2021 presidential poll. What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think, thank you once again, Alkali. Esa spoke very well because in this country, I think, as we are now, we need to start checking on our leaders. Politics is not about a joking field or a joking game, especially being an opposition. It looks or it's need a lot of integrity and moral behaviors. Looking at his current way of politicking, for me, how I describe him lately, it is that he is politically bankrupt. And what Esa said, I totally agree with him. Comparing in the past and currently, the way he speaks or the way he acts in the political field, is definitely, you can definitely detect the inconsistency in what he says or how he behaves. So definitely he's inconsistent. He's inconsistent, and in that consistency, we should, as far as we are all part of the political community or environment, we should start to hold them accountable for them to deliver for the people. Because politics, especially a leader, you are not there for yourself. You are there for the people. So you say things that remain in the minds of the people. And then later on, you could want something else, then you want to say something also thinking that people forgot the past. So it's easily detected that his inconsistency is on the record.
Don't you think it is also a matter of choice to take side, you know, of any political party? Him being a political figure decided to say, okay, I will throw my weight behind. I rather throw my weight behind the president than the opposition. Don't you think that is his right? No, it is his right. Nobody is saying that it is not his right. But the way he said it, and the descriptions he gave the president currently, and the past definition of him against the president, shows the inconsistency between his past and the current behaviors. He said that he would have preferred to throw his weight behind the president during the 2020 presidential election rather than going to join the oppositions. When he was asked why, he said that because the president is having a manifesto. And asked what is the manifesto of the president, he couldn't even cite one kind of activity or one kind of policy that the president is currently doing which favors the country. And he was there during the 2020 presidential campaign or period. He said things, a period that also he said some things against the president. And those things we have not seen any change. So if you say that you prefer going to join the same system you said is not good, what has changed suddenly for you to go and then say that you prefer to join that particular person? Do you see any time soon my party jumping ship, you know, to Barrow's camp?
And that's why I say that he's morally bankrupt, because he wanted to search for a job. For me, in my own perception, he's searching for a job because we all know Barrow is a type of leader whom, if you just keep singing, he always want to bring you on his camp, especially people like my party. So when Mike came out and say controversial things like this, you know the public might go against him. So that will see Barrow to perceive Barrow as Mai as a sympathizer, and that will give Barrow another kind of feeling that let me bring this man on board, because maybe he's having a kind of support that if I have him on my camp, this could happen or this could change. And that's the tactic Mai is playing. He's playing a political game to lobby position, for me, in my own view. He's playing a political game to lobby a position, because Barrow does not calculate what character one is having, what kind of attitude one is having. He doesn't care about morals of other politicians. Only what he cares, I support you, and you are doing good. If you can say that, you can.
So from this point, what can inconsistency of a political figure lead us to as a nation?
Morally, it's not good for the for politicians, because what it does is it devaluates the political attitude or the political feeling that people are having politicians. Today, I'm saying that Barrow is not doing good, and Barrow haven't changed anything. Tomorrow, I want to lobby some position from Barrow, and I can say that the same followers. I go back to them and say, hey, Barrow is the best. He's doing this and that and that. I forgot that yesterday I said Barrow is not good, and he hasn't changed anything in the face of those supporters. So those supporters now are seeing politicians as just like self-interest people who only sing when they want something, people who only care about their own enrichment activities, but they don't care about the well-being of citizens. So that's why, for me personally, I spoke against Mai, because I believe that he is devaluating our political environment. The politics of deception, lying, politics of misleading is just like now the cake of each and every one of us. So I believe, as young people or as people of this country, we should fight against that, to ensure that people have credibility in politicians. They should show as credible people, as a credible field. It's not a matter of just a game-changing for own self.
No problem. We'll come to the politics of deception and others. So we move to the Senegalese ambassador welcomes Gambia's ban on timber trade. Recently, we've seen that the Gambia government has put a permanent ban on timber trade in this country, which include the exportation and importation of timber. But this move of the government is definitely embraced by the Senegalese High Commission in the Gambia in the interest of maintaining peace in Casamance region. Mr. Sawaneh.
Mr. Cham, you know, timber banning is not a new thing in this country. Timber trade has been banned here since this government has came into power. Banning is a mere word written on statements given across the country that we have banned this particular thing. The question we should ask, would it be implemented? Would the banning be realistic? And who are those who are involved? We all saw names that came in. The Senegalese, yes, they might like it, and they like it because it's a huge interest at the Senegalese side. In fact, on our own side, it's because environmental issues should be a concern for each and every one of us. But to be able to do the job effectively, government has to be very serious, not only to say things that are unimplementable. Themselves, they are totally involved in the business. And that's why they could only ban it. The banning could only benefit them, because the timber trading will continue. You are a journalist. Continue investigating. You will find that timber will continue to be re-exported outside of this country and through the ports of Banjul.
But in the sense of banning, we believe that the government should come all out to reinforce the practicability of these certain measures. And of course, if the government comes out to say, okay, we have banned this just on the outside, but in the inside we are still implementing, it's going to be a big blow in the face of the citizenry, Mr. Sawaneh.
And that has been it since inception. That's what I said. Since the coming of this government, the timber has always been banned on the papers. It has always been banned. It wasn't a business that was legal here. They banned it. They said that all timber trade certificates are revoked. That has been said several times. And this one is a new one. You remember there was an investigative matters on it, and then I think is it The Voice? They came out with allegations that the president is involved. Just fortnight, we have seen a statement from the government that said that timber trade has been banned in this country. And while the vice president in his cabinet retreat, we heard it. He said that how is that timber trade is banned here, but up until now, timber is being re-exported out of this country and through the ports of Banjul. How is that possible? Who are involved? He questioned. But the matter of the fact is, the people who are banning are the same people who are involved in the trade. So therefore, for me, I'm just seeing it as a mere statement. But enforcement cannot happen because those who are supposed to be enforcing are the same people who are having the benefit of the business.
In the side of Senegalese government, they appreciate this because they believe that the MFDC separatists are involved likely in this timber trade, as a result, they don't want to place down the weapons. But unfortunately, what the High Commissioner of Senegal said is, with this ban, they believe that the MFDC will be discouraged, and of course, they've also waged war against them. So this can no longer exist within the southern part of Senegal. So we see what's going to happen with regards to this timber issue. We move on to the other one. The Gambia Transport Union, the president of the Gambia Transport Union, Mr. Sisi, has indicated that after Tobaski, we may see increment in fares due to the fluctuating nature of the fuel prices. As a country, when you heard that the fuel price has increased, which the government could likely blame the Ukraine and Russia war, what came into your mind?
The first thing I thought about is what the Transport Union president is saying. That if fuel prices are increased, no matter how you could manage, fares also will increase. And it's not only stopping the fares. Other essential commodities also, prices will increase. And this is why it's very important for these certain issues to be looked at very well. Because fuel, it is the cost of transport. Without fuel, there will be no transport. So therefore, government and then the transport union, they have been in a long way of negotiations. We all knew that. They increase fuel how many times, and then the drivers and the transport union are saying that fare prices or transport fares are not increased. So they maintain the same $10 that they were doing as usual. Now that it has over increased, they are also going back and then re-increase their fare price. But it's not good to we the consumers. And then transport is a very important sector in the economy of this country. So if you want to stabilize an economy, the first thing you should do to have a transport system that's going to be conducive. Because getting even access to our job places, you need transport. Without that transport, maybe your staffs, 1 or 2 will be present on time, but 3 or 4 would be very, very late.
Do you think government can chip in to subsidize the petroleum sector?
That's how wise countries or wise governments are doing. Yes, the Russia-Ukraine war is a key factor in it. But what wise governments do is that they took a certain amount of percentage for the consumers so that certain issues will not involve in it to affect the general public. And this is what Gambia is lacking. The fuel price has increased, yes, it's true, but government has also withdrew their subsidy into the fuel issue. And that's why you are seeing that the transport union also is saying that they are going to increase. It's because government is no more subsidizing it.
We hoped that the government of the day are listening to this program, and then the citizens are appealing for you to subsidize, in order to assuage the painful nature that the Gambians are going through when it comes to transportation. We looked at the one of the information that has come from one of the political figures, that is Esa Fall. Esa Fall has indicated that our agri sector is gradually dying.
That is true. I think we all should agree on that agri sector gradually it is dying. And that shows how unserious this government is, to be quite honest. Because this country, the only sector we depend on that provide like almost 70% of the job field, or 70% of jobs to the population is agriculture. And that sector, we also say that I agree that is the backbone of the economy. But it's the same sector that the people involved in it are still poor and poorer. And that says a lot of things. One should ask him or herself what this government is doing to revive that sector. Because looking at Jawara's time, how agriculture is today and compared to those days, there is a huge difference between them. This government can only think, or they can only say, but they cannot do anything. Looking at the crop fertilizer, farmers depend widely on that fertilizer for them to have harvest bumpily in each season of rain season. But this year, we see that government is not even, they are saying that they subsidize it, but the way they subsidize it, we could see that there are kind of inconsistency between what they said and what is happening. So fertilizer is a problem in this country today. How do you expect this, even this year, for farmers to harvest at the expectation? And if they don't harvest, what will happen to us? Because if there's no farmer, there'll be no food. And if the world is crying that there'll be food crisis in the world, how should Gambia prepare? And how should our government prepare? Then, for me, I totally agree that agriculture definitely is dying. Dying in this country.
Mr. Fall has indicated that if not with the support of diaspora remittance, the agri sector would have been a disaster. We consider the fact that during this feast, I mean, we look at the animal rearing. You know, most of this animal that comes into the country is either from Mauritania or Senegal or the neighboring country. But what is your take on this, Mr. Sawaneh? Don't you think the government or the private sector should invest massively in order to help, you know, agri sector grow to the level that we aspire to see?
Agriculture to grow to expectation in this country or anywhere in the world, government must intervene heavily, in fact. Without government's intervention or prioritizing agriculture, we cannot move anywhere. Be it an animal husbandry, be it poultry, be it crop farming, be it cash or substantial farming. Any of them cannot move progressively without the massive support of government. Not only private sector, but government has to set up the environment for private sector to chip in. To know that definitely this business supposed to be a business that will generate an income. We all know agriculture is that. That's why if you go back to the Maputo 2002 agreement, they agreed that any serious government, any serious leader want to move your country out of the current situation, you should invest heavily. And that investment, they targeted a certain percentage of your national annual budget, that is 10% minimum, should go to agriculture. And if that happens, this animal husbandry you are talking about, we can do it in Gambia. Poultry, we can feed ourselves. You go to because you cannot do poultry without having the proper mechanism that surround or that support it. That is the feeding part of it. And you cannot have the feeding part sufficiently without having the maize farmers being supported. So there are a lot of factors that surround it. But anyway, to be summary, it cannot move without the heavy support of government. And this government is not ready to do that.
Thank you so very much. That brings us to the news review. So I am now shifting, attention to Mr. Sawaneh. That is my guest. Mr. Sawaneh, you've contested in the parliamentary election, and then you lost your opponent. What went wrong?
Just as normal. Gambian politics, as I mentioned earlier in the analysis, it is based on the trust that Gambians themselves, or politicians themselves, are putting into the political field. That is to deceive electorates. Nowadays, if you don't go with money into the political field, you wouldn't have the votes of the people. Some voters prefer to exchange votes with money or material. And that is what the incumbent is capitalizing on. They corrupt people to get their votes. They do election malpractices, which the laws doesn't allow. Those are the activities they went on because they feel that they are the incumbent, they are the government, nothing will be done about it. And they go and corrupt the people based on those kind of influences. Then they get the votes. And that's exactly what happened to me. There were election, not a fraud, I'm not calling it a fraud, but corruption activities. That was the...
What would you say to the critics that says that your opponent has a better, and a sound political strategy than yourself?
That would be normal from critics. But those who know me in Basse and they know how I campaign knows that I have better political policies as far as parliamentary activities are concerned, and I'm more well experienced in politics than the opponent. And I'm also known to the area. When I said I knew, means I knew the area than my opponent. I'm also very much known and popular in the area than my opponent. So therefore, the only thing that the opponent was able to take advantage of is that advantage of incumbency based on political deception. Go to people who you know that is not associated to a parliamentary function. You go and tell them that if you vote for me, I will just construct you this road. If you vote for me, I will construct you a borehole. If you vote for me, I will make sure that your people are employed. And then, if you don't vote for me, know that the president will not do this and that because the president doesn't want to work for Hagi or work with Hagi. The president cannot work with Hagi. Hagi is an enemy to the president. These are the kind of deceptive politics they use against the people. But in terms of popularity and policy-wise,
now we come to your party itself. It is the United Democratic Party. Don't you think there is something wrong with the UDP's political strategy? Decades of struggle, yet no sign of testing leadership in government. Don't you think something is wrong with the political strategy of UDP?
I don't know, maybe unless you point your finger that this area is wrong. But for me, I'm not seeing anything wrong with the UDP's political strategy. Because there will be no better political strategy than to give citizens what will be good for them. And UDP has done this. That's why they came out with the 5-point agenda. The 5-point agenda talked about issues that affect Gambian people and bring out solutions that can remedy those problems. So if you tell me that maybe people are thinking that maybe UDP's political strategy, there's something wrong with it, what is that strategy? So that we can know and then go and work on it. Because nobody is perfect. But if there is a political problem or strategic problem in our politics, that would be news to me.
Now what do you think is the problem? Decades of struggling to become leaders of this country, and yet you are not.
Yeah, it is the side of negativity. If I say negativity here, is that the political climate in this country here is being dominated by tribalism and corruption. Tribalism is a major factor, plus the corruption that I said earlier, that the incumbent is playing. Tribalism divided us very well. You can come with a policy that will benefit an individual. Someone will come and say that if that individual win, he or she belongs to that particular tribe, and that particular tribe will chase you out of this country.
Okay.
I don't know whether you are getting my direction. And this is the kind of negativity. People are not looking at policies. People are not looking at the competency. All what they are looking at is the tribal aspect, plus the corruption, malpractices of the incumbent. And this is why the UDP cannot win the 2022 elections.
What do you say to the critics that says the standard bearer of your party, that is Usainu Dabo, has to go in order to portray a new image for United Democratic Party? With this, you may likely win. What is your take on this?
That would be people maybe outside of the UDP. Or that would be people who definitely would never even vote for UDP even if Usainu Dabo is not there. Because if you want to change a system of such, I think you should be part and parcel of that membership, to come and give your voice, or to come and decide what you want. But Usainu Dabo is selected in Congress based on the views that he is the competent person that is capable of moving the party forward, and that is who is capable of delivering what the party wants for this country. If you believe he cannot, join them. If you join them, you also decide that no, I thought Almami or Alkali is the solution to the party. Then decide for Alkali and see the majority who they prefer. Therefore, that will be the solution for those critics. But to sit down outside of the party and say that take out Alkali, if you don't take out Alkali, you will not come, means that you are not even ready to come.
You personally have been a constant critic of Barrow, President Barrow. You've mentioned him. You've mentioned that he plays a politic of deception. Could you give us specifics where these deceptions are?
That will even entirely consume your entire program. Barrow, at the first place, when he was coming, he commits objectives as far as the coalition was concerned, starting it from there. But he deceived electorates by reading the coalition agreement, which says that I will serve for only 3 years, and in that case, I will not contest for the subsequent elections. It is to him that he's going to serve for more than 10 years. He's going to serve for more than 20 years in him. But to deceive us, he knows that he cannot have that without giving us that false promise that he's going to serve for only 3 years, and in which he's not going to contest in an organized election he has done. What has he done? It is to break that promise, saying that you can say anything in politics if you are looking for votes, which was the reality of him. He does it. He broke the 3 years, saying that I started a project. When asked what are those projects, he said that he is in an initiative of drafting a constitution, and that consultation is ongoing. It was not even ended yet for the parliament to decide whether the draft will pass into a law or not. He said that until his legacy has that, he is not going to resign from the 3 years. So he should be given 5 years. The 5 years is there. The draft he claimed to be supporting, or he claimed to put in his legacy, the draft was killed by who? Himself. On what basis? based on greediness, because he wants to serve for more than 30 years. He wants to serve for unlimited. And that's why he just slaughtered that draft constitution, saying that it is retroactive. Retroactive in the sense that someone who said that I would even prefer to serve for 2 years. 3 years is in fact too much. Saying that something is retroactive, that's saying that the count will begin at the tenure of the 3 years. And you don't want to even serve for 5 years. So what is wrong in that law? Those who drafted it, were they mistaken? No, they were not mistaken. Because the law says, section 65 and section 63, we are very clear. 65 says you can serve for 5 years. Obligatory, you cannot pass there. That's an obligation. You cannot pass for 5 years. But does not say that you cannot resign. And that's where they drew up their agreement. Based on 63 of the 1997 constitution, that says that we're not going to force you, but based on your own will, you're going to serve for only 3 years. In that 3 years, these are the reforms: civil service reform, security sector reform, constitutional reform, and other reform that will put this country in a very democratic environment that each and everyone will going to benefit. But Barrow broke them on what? Based on deception. So he's deceptive.
So the United Democratic Party could be likely blamed for bringing up a political novice like Adama Barrow, who was barely known in 2016. So what would you say to people that point fingers at the United Democratic Party to say you are the cause of the troubles that the country is currently facing because you have chosen this personality and then presented to the Gambians?
Maybe we could say sorry if they said so, but it is not a regret because nobody knows how one is thinking inside. You could only predict, but you would not know what is inside Al-Khali. What is inside you can only be manifested if you are given a trust, and that trust has been broken by an individual. UDP as a party fulfill their obligation, that is to give each and every individual your right. It is Barrow's right to be the presidential flag bearer of the United Democratic Party if he shows interest. UDP has no kind of power to reject him just because what is inside him we don't know. He only described it or displayed it when he is entrusted, and Barrow displays it. So if UDP selected Barrow, they don't know what is inside him. They only know what he displayed by then. By then, what he displays is that he's a man who is content. He is not greedy. And he himself, he said that in his interviews, past interviews, when he was asked during, I think, was it the Senegalese newspapers or something like that. He said that he is content. He is not greedy in the Wolof language. And he's not going to be wah-wah-heads. Now he does the wah-wah-head. I think if somebody wants to blame the UDP for that, definitely you don't have anything to blame.
Okay. UDP as a political party, have we ever accord or provide technical advice to the government of the day in order to improve governance under Barrow? And
that's why our policies are published on our website. If I say the policies here, means that the agenda, the 5-point agenda, is the way UDP want to govern this country. And I believe nobody will read that 5-point agenda and you say that maybe if this one happened, we cannot go like this. We started with policies on the youths. We said that youths of this country, I think, hold the majority because we are above 65% of the populace. So if you wanted to create a capable state, you have to invest heavily on the human capacity of our youths. And that's to empower those who are going to school, to provide them with the necessary equipment, and to also not only empower them, but provide them with the necessary facilities that they can manifest or demonstrate their talents. That will stop this backward going. Not only that, provide them with schemes that will be mandatory. If they just graduated from grade 12, they'll not only sit at the Johnson corners, start using these tribal bigotries, start being criminal, start involving in things that are not at the interest of the country. So if there is an advice to the Barrow government right now, I think there will be no advice better than the UDP 5-point agenda. Because you go to energy, we spoke about it. You go to agriculture, we say 10% of the economy, the national budget should be allocated to agriculture. Compared to the current budget of today, less than 2% is going to agriculture. And how would we progress? What are you talking about? Animal husbandry, fisheries, other sectors that are affecting the agriculture. How can we progress? We cannot. So we provided Barrow with an open heart, free advice. That is to display our manifesto, our 5-point agenda on our website, which each and everyone is free to read and try to implement.
Finally, we look at the Barrow Dabo Tobasi felicitation. You, Hagi, Sawaneh, described that move to be a political trick. Don't you think that your boss, not your boss actually, your standard bearer, your leader that you look up to as a role model, you know, has received the call of the president in the interest of national reconciliation?
I'm not saying he's not received. I think the article did not mention that Dabo should not receive the call. The article is meant to advise our followers that we should be calm. Yes, we can express our views and opinions on it, but let's do it with decorum, with discipline. Exercise intelligence in it, because Barrow is playing a political trick, a political psychology. I call it political psychology, to play with the minds of UDP supporters. Barrow did not mean what he's saying. What he does, he did not mean it. He called Dabo secretly with nobody's advice, according to his spokesperson, that nobody advised him to do so. And when he was calling Dabo, nobody was aware. How did the media get in touch that Barrow has called Dabo? How did the media know it? Who gave it to the media when nobody's there when he was calling the president? He wanted to just play that card. Let me just call these political leaders to invite reaction from the general public. If Barrow is realistic on what he's saying, there are a lot of burning issues here. I'm not saying that reconciliation is not good. No, reconciliation is always very good in the country, because without peace, nobody will enjoy anything in this country. We cannot even develop as a country. But let me tell you, leaders have to begin things by building themselves. They have to start with themselves. Barrow have a lot of issues that the public should know. Calling Dabo on a social issue, nobody will condemn it. I don't think any wise person will condemn it. But he's just trying to invite the reactions of UDP so that he can say that, let me say, I called Dabo on this particular day, but UDP supporters are doing this and doing that and doing that, trying to create tension. That's the only objective. If not, you and I knows that, my friend, there are a lot of burning issues that happen, especially the National Audit Report on the security special security account issue that was created. We all cried and asked for signatures. Who are the signatures? Who authorized the opening? Huh? Where did the money go? The procurement malpractices. Who did it? Who was behind it? Did Barrow answer? He didn't give any information to any media house here. He was mute about it, up to date. He's silent about it. But he just called Dabo within seconds. The media captured it. What is behind that?
Okay.
Is that reconciliation? I'm saying no. That is political trick.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sawaneh. That brings us to the end of this news recap. My guest today is Mr. Hagi Sawaneh, the youth second vice president of the United Democratic Youth Wing. Yes. So, Mr. Sawaneh, what is your last statement on this show?
It's just a thank you and your viewers. Those who knows me that I'm not an enemy to any political leader. But all what concerns me is this country. You could argue, maybe one could say that they don't love the country, but no. I believe there's no accountability, there'll never be progress in the society. In fact, even in your own house, if you don't hold your leaders accountable, you cannot progress as a household. So, talk less of a country. Therefore, we are all doing this for the benefit of the Gambia, so that we can have leaders who will be answerable to their citizens. That's the only objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, viewers. Until we come your way again next week, I was your host, Alkali Chan.
Are you worried about the delay in the delivery of your remittances? Jamano Money Transfer is your only solution with more than 9 years experience in remittances services. It's accessible, reliable, affordable, and convenient. Jamano Money Transfer is affiliated with Ajay Guaranteed Trust Bank Limited, Mega Bank, Apps, Reliance Bank, and many others. You can send and receive your monies from friends and families both home and abroad through Jamano branches at various strategic locations in the country with high standard customer service. Please walk into any nearest Jamano branch for efficient and timely service delivery. For more information, you can visit its headquarters at Bursabi, right opposite AfriMed International Hospital, or call on the following numbers: +220 3103 050, +220 3103 051, or +220 3755 522.